So, recently, I ran into a bit of a problem. Last month, on August 19th, I finished my shiny Paldean dex. This Houndstone was the last one I needed, so I caught it with a Master Ball and gave it a fitting name. While my species dex is done, I don't have the shiny form dex complete. But I don't particularly care for shiny Pokemon with a 1 out of 100 chance to have 25% less Pokemon. I prefer more bang for your buck when it comes to shiny Pokemon. However, my incomplete form dex is not my issue. My problem is, despite having all these awesome shinies, I never really use them. So in this playthrough, I'm going to remedy that. In this video, I will be beating Pokemon Scarlet using only my favorite shiny Pokemon. That means I get 6 encounters and that's it. So any random shiny Pokemon don't get to join the team, even if they're awesome in their own right. And to get it out of the way, this is not a Nuzlocke. Seeing as I've never actually done any kind of Pokemon challenge before, I think I'll just stick with doing a shiny playthrough. I think that's a challenge enough for now. Being entirely honest, I really like a vast majority of Paldea's Pokedex, and only a few of them are pretty bad. So in order to pick my 6 Pokemon, I graded them on 2 variables. How much I like the Pokemon themselves, and how much I like the shiny. I thought this would help, but after I was done, I still had about 20 Pokemon that were all my favorite shiny. I mean, look at these, they're all just so good. So I did what any sane man would do, took my Switch in the handheld mode and opened up the Pokedex, and then went and sat in the toilet, only allowing myself to get up once I had my 6 Pokemon selected. So aside from just using the 6 selected Pokemon, the rules for this playthrough were simple. No crazy overleveling, and a personal rule I wanted to use was catch each shiny Pokemon in its own unique ball to maximize its character. I will be using shiny power sandwiches to save time because that's what I find fun, and I will definitely still run into some snags. But if you're still upset that I did my best Subway cosplay, then so what? Honestly, just play games however you think that they're the most fun to play. Now, with the rules set, I selected my first shiny hunting target to act as my starter, and the playthrough began. I started by creating my character, and taking inspiration from one of my favorite anime characters of all time. There isn't any face paint options in this game, so I had to settle for Freckles. If you recognize the character I was trying to make, then go ahead and leave a comment of who it is, and how you're liking this season. And while you're down there, if you could leave a like and subscribe, it would mean the world to me, as it helps tremendously. After finishing Chapter 1 of the Boruto time skip, I'm not super impressed, so I go downstairs to get a snack. My mom informs me we're out of cookies and M&M bars, and before I can start crying, the doorbell rings. It's my principal with important documents and a shopping bag. I go upstairs to finish getting ready for my first day, while the adults go drink nasty leaf water. Next, I am led outside to be shown 3 weird-looking dogs. I take these dogs on a short walk before picking which one I want. Now, while I do love the entire Sprigatito line, their shinies aren't the greatest. I still like them, but not enough to go around hatching eggs for 10 hours, so they didn't make the cut. I picked the strange blue-looking dog because it gives Nemona Fuecoco, and it'll make the playthrough a little bit more difficult down the line. Since I don't have my actual starter yet, I'll skip the battle on the beach and just go to the other beach, where I see Koraidon in a fetal position surrounded by cats. Koraidon screams at the cats, and then I end up falling down to the beach. Seeing Koraidon doesn't have Quick Revive, I just run over and res him myself, giving him my Mother Sandwich, which makes him perk up real quick. And being entirely honest, I want to use this Puppy Lizard form in battle so bad. The combat and ride forms are cool, but this is definitely the cutest. And speaking of combat mode, my mom's sandwich lets Koraidon go into combat mode, so does that mean that she's actually cooking with Herba Mystica? Koraidon and I march through the cat den and end up getting cornered. And to save me, he jumps 10 times higher than he normally does. Like, seriously, Mom, what did you put in that sandwich? Well, whatever it is, ends up wearing off and Koraidon goes limp. Luckily, it pops right back onto its feet and we can continue our stroll to the lighthouse, where we run into Arven. And honestly, Game Freak did such a good job of making me hate this dude in my first playthrough. I mean, he actually said that it doesn't matter who his mom is. I mean, look at her. It matters a lot who she is. So, I call his mom hot and beat up his squirrel. At this point, I can finally start shiny hunting. Again, I am using shiny boost sandwiches, so my Violet save says hello and we make a bug encounter sandwich. Within the first 10 minutes, I end up phasing and finding a shiny Scatterbug. This was not my target. But I took it as a sign that the odds wouldn't be that bad. I mean, I love it. I don't have one yet, but that's not it. This little one ended up being a quiet nature and had the teary mark, giving it the title Scatterbug the Teary-Eyed. The first shiny of the playthrough had a personality mark, and at this point, I thought it was foreshadowing some amazing luck. I made my second sandwich, and here you go, another Scatterbug. I get it, the teary-eyed one just wanted a buddy, but surely this was the end of the chain. Third sandwich and nothing. I know I'm sounding greedy, but after phasing twice already, it was starting to make me mauled a little bit. And it didn't help that the Poco path theme is like 40 seconds long and is looped forever. I was actually starting to lose my mind. Wow, oh my, is that it? No way. I finally found it. Hammy Sammy numero 4, and another stupid caterpillar. At least they're cool because I can evolve them into different patterns, but at this point, I just wanted my target. So sandwich number 5 finally came to the rescue and delivered. And watching the footage back, I very easily could have made this thing despawn and failed the shiny, but she was finally here. Yes, that's it! Oh my god! You beautiful little creature. She ends up having a relaxed nature, and I add her to my team and name her Kumiko. She's named after a character from one of my guilty pleasure anime. The CGI is awful, and the story around the humans is some of the most boring and uninteresting TV ever made. But anything involving Kumiko was gold in my eyes, and it was always worth watching for her half of the show alone. I take Kumiko to school, beat up some Team Star guys, and then begin the 3 main stories. And now the game finally opens up, I can head towards Cortando in the first gym. But before I can challenge Katie, I do some training and end up using a rare candy I found to evolve Kumiko into the single best Pokemon in the entire franchise. Goodbye Charizard and Rayquaza, Spidops is here to stay. I mean, just look at her. The way she sleeps makes her look like the Spider-Man logo. Yeah, nah, get that abomination out of here. I don't know how they could take such a perfect design like this little ball of yarn here and create something so harsh to look at. Like, I have an actual fear of anything with more than 4 legs, especially spiders, but this little thing is perfect. I trained her in defense and attack, so she should be a tank that can also hit back like a truck. In theory. Since this isn't a Nuzlocke, I just take Kumiko into the fight with Katie bare bones to see how she fares. And well, she never even gets close to beating that final Teddiursa. I'm sure Kumiko could 1v1 the thing if she had full health, but she just takes way too much damage getting there. After losing about 4 times, I decided to change gears and pick up an Eviolite to give Kumiko a much needed boost to her defenses. In the second round of attempts, Teddiursa gets down to the red, but he's just faster and Fury Cutter has built up way too much at this point. So rather than trying again and again and again for lucky crits, misses, or anything RNG like that, I probably ended up overcorrecting and run all the way to Montanavera to pick up the Leech Life TM. Leech Life is a 90 base power move versus Bug Bite 60, and it heals you for half of the damage dealt. With Kumiko learning one of the best bug type moves and holding the best item she can, she's basically reached her final form for the playthrough. I take this little WMD straight to Katie's doorstep for the 3rd time and challenge her to a bug battle. I terrestrialize and start spamming Leech Life. One-shot Nimble, almost one-shot her Tarantula, having to finish it off with another Leech Life, and then 2-shot her ace, Teddiursa, ending the fight with full HP. No, listen, Kumiko, you do not want to turn into that thing. I grab my first badge and completely forgetting the order the game was scaled in, I beeline it to Artisan to take advantage of my broken little bug and wreak havoc on some plants. Walking into the gym, I catch up with Nimona about how our dog training is going. I tell her I didn't really vibe with that blue dog, and I just decided to keep this cool looking red ball instead. Getting into probably the easiest gym of this run, I terrestrialize off the rip and one-shot Petalil. Take a tackle from Smoliv and immediately one-shot it back, and then Sudowoodo comes out. Kumiko ends up dodging the first rock throw and does about half with Leech Life. The second rock throw connects and does half to Kumiko, but she ends up landing the second Leech Life and gives me the second badge. No, hey look, I told you, we aren't doing that. Sada's son lets me know that I skipped the Rock Titan Cloth, so I backtrack to fight it just to see what Kumiko can do. I mean, she is weak to rock, but after sweeping 2 gyms, I feel invincible. I teach Kumiko the Trailblaze TM that Brassius gave me and take on the first Titan of the game. Cloth opens up with a block, which I don't really understand. I only have 1 Pokemon and I can't run, so I hit it with a Trailblaze in return. It honestly doesn't even look like super effective damage, it's just more so chip damage. The next turn, Cloth hits me with a Rock Smash, doing 2 damage instead of Rock Tomb, which he does know. Follow up with a second Trailblaze, and this one does a crit and does much more damage, taking it all the way down to the yellow. At this point, Cloth's Anger Shell activates, giving it a free Shell Smash. Poor Kumiko is probably dead after 1 Rock Tomb, and wait, it went for a Rock Smash? This time it does a whole 3 damage. But seriously, this thing is throwing. The third Trailblaze finishes off the first stage of the battle, and Cloth retreats to eat a branch of shiny hunting material. Sawdust Kid and I corner the large crab and begin our attack. Again, Cloth opens up with a block. I'm starting to think that Cloth doesn't actually read what his moves do and just clicks random things. And Shelter uses a water gun while Kumiko hits a Trailblaze. Cloth tries his best not to do damage to me by hitting me with a Vice Grip, allowing itself to get hit by another volley of water gun and Trailblaze, bringing it down below half and triggering its Anger Shell. Rather than take advantage of its Omni Boost and do huge damage, it chooses to use Block on Shelter and takes another 2 attacks with lowered defense, taking it down to the red. Cloth finally hits me with a Rock Tomb for the first time this whole Titan battle, taking Kumiko all the way down to 4 HP. But at this point, it was too little too late, and Shelter's next water gun takes it out. I seriously don't know if this fight is scripted to not beat people, or if I just had the luckiest RNG in the game. Following Sada's son into the cave, I gather some shiny hunting material and give Koraidon a sandwich so it can finally run faster. Now that I beat the Rock Titan, it's time to get a water type. I was originally going to take advantage of the level cap increase from the second badge and get it before Cloth, but Kumiko just ended up 1v1ing the thing. So I make my first sandwich of the hunt and begin searching the southeastern coast for my target. My first sandwich didn't give me a shiny, so I made a second and took another stroll on the beach. During my second sandwich, I found a shiny Weasel. I didn't exactly need this dude because of Legends Arceus, but I'll take it. After making a third sandwich, I run into probably the coolest shiny of the playthrough. And unfortunately, I missed my reaction because my clips were set to only record in the last minute. This little dude ended up being marked as well, Finizen the Humble. There's definitely a My Hero nickname on the way for this little guy, being a, superhero and all. But this is where my rules come into play. While this was almost definitely one of my favorite shiny Gen 9 Pokemon right after I found it, Finizen and Palafin were not in the original selected 6. So, this guy goes straight back to the box, waiting for his time to shine. This felt awful, but the rules are the rules, and the hunt continues. In the same sandwich, I found a shiny Magikarp like 10 minutes later. I simultaneously have the best and worst luck in the world. The next day I made the fourth sandwich of the hunt, and within 3 minutes I found my target, Wiglet.
Yes! That was so fast!
It's not exactly Palafin in design or stats, but I do like the Pokemon, and the shinies are just so good. I named the golden worm Ed. I know it's not technically a worm, it's like a garden eel or something, but if it has no arms and it's just a long body, it's a worm. The name will make more sense when it evolves, but for now, we're just working with Ed. And he's lonely in nature, and I EV train him in speed and attack. With another Pokemon on the team, I hear the Sky Titan calling my name, and see what these two can do against the living B25. And, well, it did not end up being very much. With Kumiko being weak to the double stab of flying and rock-type moves, she just does not stand much of a chance. And as far as Ed goes, he just kind of looks cool, but he isn't one-shotting Bombardier anytime soon, and with his abysmal defense, he kind of specializes in getting one-shot. Seeing just how one-sided this fight is, I just cut my losses and begin to hunt for a new team member. The family is expanding so fast. I make an electric encounter sandwich and explore the marshes next to the beach where I found Ed. Nothing shined in the first 30 minutes, so I made a second sandwich, and within 20 minutes I found this little tadpole.
Wait, is that it? Yes, that's it! Let's go!
After color matching and catching him in an Ultra Ball, I name him Gloobert. This name is kind of a multi-layered thing. In a homebrew D&D campaign my brother runs, one of the party members is named Kloob, and he has a pet slime named Gloob. So I combined his nickname Gloobert with the name of our favorite little blob into Gloobert. So, nickname lore dump aside, I take Gloobert straight to the nearest Thunderstone and evolve him into his fullest pudgy self, Bellybolt. In case having a whole Bellybolt for the second Titan of the game doesn't sound broken enough, I trained Gloobert in a weird mix set with special attack, defense, and special defense, and gave it a leftovers. The Titan Bombardier did not stand a chance. So, Gloobert challenges the bird to a 1v1 and shrugs off a rock throw, retaliating with a Thunder Shock and doing over a third. The next turn, Gloobert laughs off a Pluck and brings the Titan down to the yellow with another Thunder Shock, and I relive the same turn, taking a Pluck and finishing off the first fight with Bombardier with a third and final Thunder Shock. The feather-covered airplane then goes to refuel, and I'm honestly tired of these big Pokemon eating my Herba Mystica. I need those for my color-deformed Pokemon. And that's when a dude with the Hot Mom finally catches up, and we work together to take down the Titan. Because I'm forced from one fight to the other, Gloobert is still at half health. Despite this, with 2 turns of Thunder Shocks from Gloobert and a Rock Throw from Knackley, the bird finally crashes and I can grab my herbs. I feed Koraidon yet another sandwich and he gains the ability to swim, something I still don't have after 24 years. I learned that Arven is collecting all these herbs for his sick dog Mabastiff, and I get that it's like his lifelong friend and all, but he's already fed this thing 2 Herba Mysticas by now. He could have definitely combined those and just got a new puppy with a cool birth defect. Kind of a misplay in my book. And after feeding our pets some sandwiches, I remember I'm supposed to be taking on Team Star or something, so I'll make my way to the Dark-type Team Star leader, Giacomo. The only real possible challenges of the Team Star raids are the leaders themselves, so I'll just be skipping the guards and auto battles. Giacomo rolls into battle on his Pokemon-powered parade float and leads off with Pawniard. I terrestrialize and begin the classic spam leech life maneuver. Kumiko tanks a super effective aerial ace thanks to its Eviolite and retaliates with a leech life, dealing over half and healing almost all the way to full health. Turn 2, the same thing happens again, tanking an aerial ace and knocking out Pawniard with a leech life. Next up is a sentient dark-type Los Santos custom. It outspeeds Kumiko and hits it with a weak snarl, but she uses physical attack anyway, so the lowered special attack doesn't really mean anything. That being said, it looks like leech life is nearing its limits as it barely does anything to Revavroom, but at least it gets Kumiko back to full health. Because Snarl doesn't do much, Leech Life outpaces the damage and allows Kumiko to do decent damage while staying at full HP. Turn 3, Revavroom trades a Metal Sound for a Leech Life, taking it to the yellow and lowering my special defense. While I thought the Metal Sound was kind of a waste, the next Snarl almost one-shots Kumiko thanks to the critical hit and lowered special defense, and another Leech Life takes the card down to the red. And thanks to her attack EVs, Kumiko's Leech Life heals her up just enough to survive the next Snarl and hang on by 1 HP. And it wasn't one of those like friendship pseudo-focus sash ones either, she's just built different. The final Leech Life connects and I obtain my first Team Star badge. Maybe if I collect all these I can become like the new leader and have an entire shiny hunting army. Setting my plans for world domination aside, I head towards Levincia to challenge Iono. I guess I just forgot to record the fight against Nemona, but just know that Ed finally got his moment, knocking out her Rock Dog, and then proceeding to get one shot and needing Gloobert to clean up his mess. Jumping into the fight with Iono, she leads off with a watch roll while I send out Gloobert. She begins the fight with a quick attack, while I use charge and get a special defense boost and power up my next electric type move. After doing another quick attack, Gloobert one-shots watch roll with a Thunderbolt, and thanks to its leftovers, it's back to full HP. Next up is Luxio. I use the same strategy 2 turns in a row, taking a bite, charging, and getting residual healing from the leftovers. I go for a mud shot, and it brings Luxio down to the red, just missing out on the KO. But I get a speed drop so Gloobert can outspeed Luxio and knock it out with a second mud shot. Iono's own less cool Belly Bolt comes out for a mirror match. Gloobert is able to outspeed and do just under half of the mud shot before he shrugs off a spark. Another 2 mud shots takes out the non-yellow frog. Last up is Iono's ace Mismagius. We both terrestrialize, Gloobert tanks a Hex and does over half to Mismagius with a Terra boosted Thunderbolt. Iono goes for a Confuse Ray that instantly pays off as Gloobert hits himself in confusion. The next turn, a Hex crits while Gloobert hits himself again. He's able to tank the next Hex and brings Mismagius down to the red with a Thunderbolt. All of this for Gloobert to tank one more Hex just to hit himself in confusion and knock himself out. My guy, you need to go back into your ball and rethink that one. Kumiko comes out, takes half from a Hex, and finally hits the last attack of the battle, knocking Mismagius out with a Leech Life, earning me the 3rd gym badge. I came to the realization that Gloobert was the only one really carrying his weight, so I decided it's time to search for another team member. For this hunt, I make a Psychic Encounter sandwich and use a town reset just outside of Puerto Marinada in search of a Draffarig. The first 30 minutes is uneventful aside from Ed evolving and earning a new name, Ed, Edd, and Eddy. The show was one of my absolute favorites as a kid, and I have so many nostalgic memories tied to it. Despite this, I'm still eager for a new shiny before taking on Moa, so it's time for a second sandwich, and within 20 minutes, this little guy said hello.
Yes, there it is! It's like 5 minutes left in the sandwich.
Okay, now this starts. Ever since it was revealed, Frigoraph has always been one of my favorite Gen 9 designs, because of how well it continued and improved upon a kind of forgotten Pokemon. Plus, the shiny for both of these guys is simple, but very effective and eye-catching for me. The blue just looks so good. So, I name him Voltage, after the second best Mountain Dew flavor because this blue doesn't really match Baja Blast. No super special meaning behind this one, I just like Voltage. I end up splitting the EVs between attack, special attack, and try my best to even out its defenses. With the upgrade to the team, I can take on the Team Star Firebase. I basically ended up needing Voltage for this because poor Kumiko would have been absolutely pummeled in the auto battles. Mela charges in with her car and the boss battle begins. She leads with Torkoal setting up the sun, and I lead with Gloobert and immediately go for a Rain Dance to cut the damage of our fire types, while boosting my own water attacks. This makes her Torkoal's Flame Wheel do basically nothing, and Gloobert's static procs and paralyzes Torkoal on contact. A rain-boosted water gun from Belly Bolt takes Torkoal down below half, and Clear Smog bounces right off Gloobert.
Torkoal is finished off next turn with another water gun, and out comes a fire type car. The rain is still up for another 3 turns, so I just start clicking water gun and see how far that takes me. Revavroom goes for a Screech turn 1, while Gloobert's water gun ends up just looking like chip damage. The next turn is a repeat of last, with Screech coming from Revavroom and Gloobert landing another water gun. Revavroom is at about half health at this point, and has 2 speed boosts, but the rain is still up, so its Blazing Torque does laughable damage before another water gun takes it to the yellow. The rain finally runs out, and the second Blazing Torque takes Gloober all the way down to 11 HP. He lands another water gun, but ends up getting knocked out the next turn after another Blazing Torque. So for their first on-screen appearance, Ed and Nettie come out, and just to be sure, I terrestrialize and connect with an Aqua Jet to knock out the Revavroom, earning my second Team Star badge, one step closer to a shiny catching empire. But in order to do more shiny hunts, I need to gather more materials, so I go to the reported sighting of the Titan Orthworm. Given his ground immunity, access to a ground type attack, and my lack of a fire type, the best soldier for this task is Voltage. So when I find the large worm that breaks my whole no arms rule, I immediately send out Voltage. First turn, he takes an Iron Tail and goes down to about a third, and retaliates with a low kick, doing around half to the Orthworm. Voltage almost certainly wouldn't survive another Iron Tail at this point, so I'm very happy when I see the AI throw again by clicking Wrap, doing negligible damage to Voltage and leaving itself open to be hit by another low kick. This one is enough to make Orthworm retreat, so I follow it to the source of pure dopamine, some salty herba mystica. This stupid arm-having worm eats enough of the stuff to supply an entire village with shiny power sandwiches, and I cannot let that stand. So Arvin and I begin our assault on the Jumbo Pokemon. Orthworm uses Wrap on Voltage, but he dodges, making Orthworm look like a fool. Toadschool does nothing with the Grass Knot, while Voltage connects with a low kick. Turn 2, and Orthworm goes for a Sandstorm and takes another low kick from Voltage, going down to yellow health. Arvin being Arvin, uses Supersonic on the Orthworm, confusing it. Fortunately, it breaks through the confusion and hits Voltage with a headbutt. This doesn't do much damage, and after another combo of Grass Knot and low kick, Orthworm goes down. We find some of the most valuable material known to man and immediately put it into a sandwich. I end up feeding it to my Koraidon so he can jump higher, but Arvin gives it to his dog while it's on its last legs and gets a simple woof. Dude, seriously, it's never too late for an upgrade. Following the Steel Titan, I head straight to Cascarafa. I want to challenge the gym leader, but when I show up, he's running out the doors of the gym. Confused, I ask what's going on, and the gym staffer tells me the toilets are clogged at the gym and that Kofu is crowning as we speak. After he takes care of business, it's finally time to fight. It would make sense to lead with Gloobert, but I wanted to spread the love a little. So I lead Voltage against Kofu's Veluza, just barely miss out on a one-shot with Energy Ball, and comfortably take a pluck. A second Energy Ball knocks out Veluza, and out comes Wugtrio. Voltage doesn't take a headbutt very well, but knowing from experience, Wugtrio is pretty frail, so a single Energy Ball knocks it out. When Kofu throws out the worst Pokemon of all time, I decide to spare Voltage and send out Gloobert to finish the battle. He takes nothing from a Rock Smash, but before he even gets a chance to attack, he gets crit by a Crab Hammer in one shot. Being angered by this injustice, Ed and Nettie all come out and use Dig, avoiding the Crab Slam. Dig doesn't do much at all, and the second Slam connects and takes the guys down to 5 HP. But the Crab made contact, so its speed is lowered by Ed and Nettie's gooey ability. After all the work the boys put in, and Sandstorm damage building up over time, Voltage can come out comfortably and defeat this creature with another Energy Ball and earn me my 4th badge. And thanks to putting in all that hard work at the last gym, Voltage evolves into Fergarath, giving me the much needed bump I need to take on the next opponent. The next fight is probably one of the most annoying in the game, and it's Atticus. The poison-wielding Chinibio is way more of a pain in the neck than he has any right to be. After beating up a bunch of his LARPing buddies, a giant purple car comes strolling out of a tent, and the battle begins. I lead Kumiko against a Skuntank. She tanks a Venoshock, allowing her to set up sticky webs, lowering the speed of Atticus' Pokemon. We then trade Venoshock for Leech Life, and the second Venoshock crits Kumiko, bringing her down to 1 HP. Doesn't really matter, but the next Venoshock also crits. I know she was dead no matter what, but Kumiko just can't catch a break. I bring out Gloobert next, take a Toxic, and finish off the Fart Squirrel with a Thunderbolt. I switch in Ed Nettie against his Revavroom and one-shot it with the 4x super effective Dig. Next up is Muck, who gets hit all the way to the yellow from a Dig before critting Ed Nettie with the 3rd crit of the battle. But they manage to hang on and finish off Muck with a crit triple dive. I'm glad I'm starting to get crits when they really matter. The final hurdle of this battle is the Poison-type Battle Bus. Ed and Nettie start off with doing a solid chunk of damage to it with Dig, triggering the bus's toxic debris, but ends up getting finished off with a noxious torque. Gloobert comes out and starts chipping away at the boss's health bar with Terra boosted thunderbolts. He manages to connect twice before being taken out by a combination of noxious torques and the toxic from the beginning of the fight. Voltage is the last one standing and finishes off the battle with a twin beam, destroying the nerd in his car, getting me my 3rd team star badge, one step closer to my team of minions. My next challenge was Larry, the normal type specialist. I provoke him by eating off his plate while he was distracted, and he immediately wants to throw down, turning a restaurant into a battlefield. I stupidly didn't look at Kamala's set, so after leading Voltage, he takes a strong sucker punch going down to 26 HP. Okay, it's a crit. Double kick does about 2/3 in response, and not wanting to lose Voltage to a second sucker punch, I switch in Gloobert. Kamala yawns before taking a thunderbolt to the dome, leading Larry to bringing out the Dunsparce. But it isn't nap time for Gloobert yet, so I swap in Ed and Eddie, and straight into another crit. Somehow they hold on with 1 HP. The next turn they deal over half with triple dive before being smited by a hyper drill, which ended up being another crit. This has to be a joke. Then Voltage comes out and double kick does way less than I thought it would, meaning Voltage dies to a hyper drill for nothing. Sorry, Big Cheese. Gloobert finishes off the Dunsparce with a Thunderbolt, leaving only the Terra normal Staraptor. Facade does decent damage, and Gloobert hits the first crit of the battle in my favor, dealing about 80% in response. Repeating the same turn again with a crit Thunderbolt and all brings the battle to a close, and earns me my 5th gym badge. After seeing how cool my team of uniquely color deformed animal things are, Nemona challenges me to a battle. Voltage leads against her Lycanroc, takes a crunch pretty well, and one-shots a Lycanroc with an energy ball. Again, being too lazy to look up the opponent's team, I forgot Nemona's Goomy had Sap Sipper, so my next energy ball does nothing and Voltage takes a Dragon Pulse for no reason. I'm really gonna need to learn this game before I do Nuzlocke. But the next turn, I click a move that will actually do damage, and take Goomy to the red with a Twin Beam, and hold on after taking another Dragon Pulse. Twin Beam finishes off Goomy, and Palmo comes out next. Ironically, Voltage goes down to a Spark, and I send out Gloobert. Spark can't do anything to him, so after a Mud Shot, I set up a Rain Dance before finishing off Palmo with another Mud Shot. All that's left is Nemona's Skeledirge, and thanks to the Rain Dance, Gloobert's Weather Ball is now a Water type, allowing him to easily 2-shot her ace. Seriously, Kumiko, you're still in this whole evolution thing? After taking down Larry, Rhyme is the next one of my crosshairs, specializing in double battles and ghost types. She leads with Mimikyu and Bayonet while I lead Voltage and Kumiko. I immediately terrestrialize Voltage into a normal type to tank the incoming Sucker Punch, landing a strong crunch, almost one-shotting Bayonet. After tanking a slash from Mimikyu, Kumiko sets up a Sticky Web. So, terrestrializing makes the crowd give me a multi-boost. This makes the next Sucker Punch do even less damage, allowing Voltage to hit Mimikyu with a Twin Beam, breaking its disguise and taking it down to half health. Kumiko eats another slash and lands a Throat Chop, finishing off her Bayonet. Rhyme's Houndstone comes out and gets slowed down by the Sticky Webs. And the crowd seems to like this, as I get another multi-boost. Thanks to the boost and Sticky Web, Voltage moves first and one-shots Houndstone with a crunch, and ignores a slash from Mimikyu. Kumiko pretends that she's helping with a Leech Life, and Rhyme's Ace Toxtricity comes out. Voltage takes care of Mimikyu with a crunch just before Toxtricity hits a crit discharge, bringing Voltage down to the red and Kumiko to about half. Kumiko deals massive damage with a Throat Chop, almost one-shotting the Toxtricity, but a Twin Beam next turn from Voltage finishes off the battle, earning me my 6th gym badge. To celebrate such a dominant victory, I decide to get my hands on some more Herba Mystica. I travel to the closest known location, and have to fight the Titan Great Tusk. And I'm not going to let some giant frog with weird horns keep me from more Herba Mystica, so I challenge it to a battle. A knockoff deals over half the Voltage, but his Twin Beam one-shots a Titan Frog in response. The thing is high-key salty now, so it falls back to eat some of my freaking herbs. And then, the dude with the waifu mom shows up to steal the remaining special sauce that I wanted for my shiny sandwiches. And well, like the last round, Great Tusk hits Voltage with a strong knockoff, but a Razor Leaf from Arvin Scoville and a Twin Beam brings it down below a third. I terrestrialize Voltage, thinking it might help him survive another knockoff or something, but a Stomping Tantrum is more than enough to bring my boy down. And, deciding to be useful as always, Arvin uses Scary Face, dragging the battle on for another turn. Thankfully, Ed and Eddie comes out and takes down the Titan with a triple dive, allowing me to finally loot the cave. I wanted to use the herbs to get more of my color deformed Pokemans, but I let Arvin use it for his charity case dog. Disappointed about losing out on valuable supplies, I want to take on another gym. But before I get a challenge Tulip, Nimona stops me for a vibe check. I lead Ed and Eddie against her Lycanroc, and a Terra boosted triple dive easily one-shots her dog, leading her to send out Pawmot. Boys use Dig to dodge a Thunder Wave, and then the Dig connects, just missing out in the one-shot, and the second Thunder Wave lands. Aqua Jet takes out the Pawmot, and Nimona sends out Sliggoo. Not really liking the matchup, I switch out into Kumiko, who tries to get up a Sticky Web, but ends up getting crit by a Dragon Pulse. Now, this is the part of the battle where I look back and wonder if I was on something. I send out Gloobert to just start trading chip damage back and forth. Thunderbolt paralyzes Sliggoo, and in anticipation of an incoming Skeledirge, I set up the Rain. So while the rain is falling, the battle of chip damage continues until Gloobert finishes off Sliggoo with a Mud Shot, and then the rain stops. Okay, maybe my timing was a little off, but thankfully, Gloobert is an MVP. I leave him in to take a Terra boosted Torch Song and set up a Rain Dance to cut the damage the Overgrown Lizard can do. This allows Gloobert to survive the next Torch Song on 3 HP and one-shot the thing in return with a rain-boosted Weather Ball. This dude's awesome. I somehow survived the worst section of like any Pokemon game ever, like seriously, who came up with this? And then it's finally time to challenge Tulip. The Psychic Specialist leads off with her knockoff normal colored Voltage, while I lead with Kumiko. She dodges the Friggeraff's Zen Headbutt and fires off Sticky Webs. The next Zen Headbutt deals negligible damage, and Kumiko's Leech Life deals over half, bringing her back up to full HP. And this is where I started to get mad. Just as I was starting to get confident that Kumiko could sweep the whole thing by herself, Zen Headbutt flinches her 2 turns in a row, leaving her with about a third HP. She holds on with 4 and finally takes out the stupid flinchy Giraffe with Leech Life. Then out comes Gardevoir, and I was hoping that if she could hold on with like 1 HP and get like an attack off, Leech Life would bring her back up. But a critical hit destroys my adorable ball of yarn, and Voltage comes out for revenge. Terastallizing into a normal type, taking a Dazzling Gleam, and then using Shadow Ball, Gardevoir is finished. The Shadow Ball from Voltage misses out on the one-shot against Espathra, meaning he takes a Psychic, bringing him low. But eventually, Espathra is finished off, and Tulip brings out her ace, Florigis. This thing is an absolute unit, so it takes nothing from a Shadow Ball, and knocks out Voltage with a Psychic. Ed and Eddie comes out for the revenge kill and finishes off the battle with a triple dive, meaning the 7th gym badge is mine. Only 1 more to go. At this point, the team and I are managing, but it would be awesome to get a new team member. So off to the Glaciato Mountain we go. I make a level 3 Dragon Sandwich and the hunt begins. The first sandwich was a dud and I didn't find my target, so I made a second sandwich and still nothing. But the third sandwich is a charm because after walking around for about 20 minutes, this little girl showed up. Yes, that's it! It's got the little, like, pink dangly bits. Okay, that sounded way worse than I thought it was going to. Meet Rexy, named after the main T-Rex from a massive part of my childhood, Jurassic Park. She ended up having a mark, the Dawn Mark, giving her the name Rexy, the Early Riser, which I find pretty funny considering her late appearance in the movie, but I guess it works. And I know what you guys are starting to think. Is Frigibax seriously one of your favorite Paldean Pokemon? You have to be evolving that thing into Baxcalibur, right? Well, don't worry, because you're wrong on both counts. Rexy's destiny is to evolve into an Arctibax and stay an Arctibax. Now don't get me wrong, Baxcalibur is amazing, I even used one on my first playthrough team, but I just love Arctibax so much more, and honestly regretted evolving mine in my first playthrough. And the Shiny's blue and pink combination works so much better than on Baxcalibur. So yeah, with my Dragon and Ice type on the team now, let's go knock out the Ice type gym and the Fairy and Fighting Team Starbases. Yeah, I didn't really think that timing through, did I? Well, and he's done one way or another, so first up is Grusha, the Ice type specialist. I lead Kumiko against his Frostmoth. We trade setup moves with Frostmoth setting up a Tailwind and Kumiko setting up Sticky Webs. Now I wanted to make Gloobert's Weather Ball into a Fire type move, so I set up Sunny Day with Kumiko after she dodges a Blizzard. Frostmoth lands a big Blizzard, and me being stupid and watching a YouTube video instead of paying attention to the game, I click Sunny Day again. Kumiko makes up for my mistake by dodging the next Blizzard and landing a decent Leech Life, which is nice and all, but wait, she does it 2 more times, clutching the bug 1v1. Well, that was awesome and all, but now Beartic comes out and hits an Icicle Crash, doing decent damage while Kumiko sets up the Sun. And, well, actually, Kumiko continues to be awesome and dodges an Icicle Crash 2 turns in a row, landing Leech Lives, whittling Beartic down to half. Beartic finally connects, and Karma catches up to Kumiko, and she flinches. Unfortunately, the next Icicle Crash knocks her out, and the sunlight fades. I guess that's the Weather Ball strat out the window. Ed and Eddie avenge their sister and Beartic goes down. Grush's next Pokemon is Titan, and Triple Dive hits it down to half, and returns the favor with an Ice Spinner. We end up keeping the same pace of damage, while Titan holds on after a Triple Dive, a second Ice Spinner brings the homies down to 4 HP. Sucker Punch finally takes out the Titan, and out comes Grush's ace, Altaria. The thing avoids a Triple Dive and takes Ed and Eddie out with a Hurricane. I send out Voltage and he takes a Hurricane, before landing a Twin Beam for a solid chunk. A second Hurricane confuses Voltage, and he ends up hitting himself in confusion, meaning a Moonblast next turn takes him out. Rexy makes her debut landing a Brick Break and managing to survive a Dragon Pulse, and since she outspeeds, Rexy finishes off the battle with a Brick Break, earning me my 8th and final gym badge. Okay, so Fairy is like one of my favorite types in Pokemon, but I absolutely hate this guy. So I have a bone to pick with Mr. Ortega here. I start by beating up all the underlings to provoke the guy out, and begin my assault. Kumiko takes her position as lead against his Azumarill. The blue rat springs up in the air while Kumiko sets up the Sun, and with faith in her bulk, I let her stay in to take a bounce, and she ends up getting paralyzed. Knowing that the rat is going skybound again, I attempt to set up webs, but Kumiko couldn't break through the paralysis. Over it, I just click the A button again, but my beautiful little ball dodges the bounce and finally gets up the webs. At this point, I just wanted to set up the Sun again, so I just keep spamming the move until either Kumiko gets it off or she faints, but the legend dodges another bounce and manages to set it up. After all of her hard work, I swap out Kumiko into Voltage and set up a Reflect, and I don't know if this rat has bad eyesight because it misses again. Between the Sun and Reflect, Azumarill can't do much while I set up Calm Minds to my heart's content. Eventually, the rich a-hole starts spamming charms. Voltage ends up getting hit by a crit Aqua Tail and procs my Citrus Berry. I take another turn to reset up Reflect, and Voltage's Cudchew triggers again, getting more recovery. One more Calm Mind and a stored power time. I one-shot the blue rat, then Ortega's Dosh Bun, Wigglytuff, and Pink Lightning McQueen all suffer the same fate. Okay, now that felt good. There's only one more of these Team Star nerds standing between me and my shiny hunting minions. In preparation for my master plans, I want to take my last shot at getting my hands on some of that magic shiny powder. At this point, I can just feel the pull of the stuff, I just know where it is. I follow my spidey senses to Castleroy Lake, and there's this little fish sitting there, right where I can feel the herbs calling to me. I walk up to claim what's rightfully mine, and then this huge fish almost eats me. I managed to dodge, and just when I thought it couldn't get worse, the black hole that devours all of my happiness that is Arven shows up to get his grubby little mitts on my herbs. I want to tell him to get lost and that the herbs are mine, but I'm not going to try to get yeeted by this giant blue jerk again. Realizing that I'm out of options, we team up to take the thing on. I lead Voltage and go for an energy ball, almost doing half, and Arven does the best thing he can and takes the Aqua Tail from the Titan, and then uses Tail Whip. A second energy ball brings the Titan down to the red right before it hits Arven's Greedent with another Aqua Tail. Voltage lands a third and final energy ball on Don Bozo, but then we have to take on the brains of the Titan operation. Sushi Guy hits Voltage with a Dragon Pulse, dealing over half, and then Voltage starts to slow down, just chipping away at the boss's health bar. Of course, Greedent misses its takedown, and then when Tatsugiri uses Icy Wind, it misses the fat squirrel and crits my glorious giraffe. Luckily, Dazzling Gleam and Takedown combine to bring the Titan down below half. But because I'm like one with the Matrix at this point, I know that Mr. Sushi Guy is going for a taunt next turn, so I keep Voltage in for a big hit from a Dazzling Gleam in combination with another Squirrel Takedown. I read the game's code real time and predict that Tatsugiri is targeting Arven, so Voltage stands his ground and finishes the battle with a Dazzling Gleam. Despite carrying both stages of the battle, I know that if I don't let Arven take the herbs for his lame, not shiny dog, he will be more of a pain in the long run, but I'll get back at him eventually. In order to make up for my losses, I set out to finally topple the Team Star government and indoctrinate the members into my shiny hunting armada. Like I have done so many times before, I sweep aside the cannon fodder and call out whatever cringy LARPer is in charge of this base, and okay, fair enough, I take it back, please don't hurt me. I lead my tried and true Day 1 Kumiko against her Toxicroak. My adorable creature shrugs off a poison jab and sets up her webs across the battlefield. A second poison jab actually poisons her, and Leech Life almost didn't move the health bar at all, and I don't want anything to switch into this, so Kumiko stays gonna take one more hit, allowing Gloobert to come in safely. He takes a poison jab, and again the stupid punchy lizard gets the poison, but Gloobert gets revenge with a static and lands a mud shot. Thanks to the sticky webs and that static, Gloobert outspeeds Toxicroak and finishes him off with a mud shot. Passimian comes out and hits Gloobert with a strong close combat, sealing his fate. But before Gloobert goes down, he lands a huge Thunderbolt, almost one-shotting the lemur, before going down to the poison in his system. Ed and Nettie get revenge with an Aqua Jet, and the scariest part of the battle is here: Annihilate. The boys try to do what they can with a Sucker Punch, but a close combat is enough to knock them out like 4 times over. Voltage comes out to take a stand and deals with this massive threat with a Psychic. Lucario comes out and just barely survives an Earthquake and retaliates with a Dark Pulse, which deals over half to my boy. Voltage outspeeds and Earthquakes again to knock out the Lucario, and out comes the final Parade Float. Psychic does massive damage, doing over 2/3 of the thing, and Voltage manages to tank a Combat Torque, finishing off the battle with a final Psychic. With Team Star taken care of, I can set my sights on the Elite Four, starting with Rika. The ground type specialist leads with a Whiscash, and I send out Rexy. She does about half with an Icicle Crash before comfortably taking an Earth Power. One more Icicle Crash, and Whiscash goes down. Rika sends out Donphan next, who just holds on after getting hit with an Icicle Crash, and knocks out Rexy with a Stone Edge. Ed Nettie gets the revenge KO with a triple dive, and Rika thinks her own weird Chode trio can beat my beautiful blue boys. But Ed Nettie come out on top with a triple dive, destroying those guys. The homies continue the sweep, one-shotting Camerupt as soon as it comes out. Then things get messy, because a Clodsire has Water Absorb. So a Sucker Punch connects for a chip damage, but Ed Nettie goes down to an Earthquake. But thankfully Voltage comes out and finishes the fight with 2 energy balls. Rika has been taken care of, so the strange baby thing that is Poppy shows up, and she makes me uncomfortable, so let's take care of this quickly. I lead Kumiko against Caparaja, and she ends up taking a big heavy slam, but she gets to do her thing and set up sticky webs. I click Sunny Day, but the stupid green cat lands another heavy slam, sending Kumiko to the Shadow Realm. I don't exactly have good matchups against the baby person, so Ed and Nettie come out to land a dig for chip damage. It doesn't really do too much, but the Mad Lads dodge the incoming play rough, and a second dig finally KOs the Caparaja. And well, the boys continue their rampage with a dig bringing Magnezone down to its 30 while it sets up Light Screen, and an Aqua Jet takes the thing out next turn. Corviknight comes out, and Ed and Nettie's luck seems to have run out, but they manage to do about over half with a triple dive before getting one shot by a Brave Bird. But seeing the flying type in the sky, Gloobert comes out to finish off the taxi with a Thunderbolt. After Bronzong comes out, I forget the thing has Levitate, meaning that it gets a free Earthquake and ends up surviving a 1 HP after being hit by 2 Thunderbolts. And yeah, sorry about that, buddy. I screwed that one up. With a Taco Bell mascot so low, Voltage can finish the thing off with a Psychic, leaving only Poppy's Tinkaton, but 2 Earthquakes can take care of it, meaning I move on to the 3rd member, a rematch with Larry. Again, Rexy takes lead position against Tropius and easily one-shots it with an Icicle Crash. Nothing wants to take a close combat from the Staraptor though, so unfortunately Rexy takes another early exit. Gloobert comes out and takes a close combat pretty well, and Static ends up activating, paralyzing the Swellow knockoff. But it doesn't really matter because Thunderbolt immediately one-shots it. Then out comes Altaria, but Gloobert trades Thunderbolts for Dragon Breaths and ends out on top after 2 turns. Larry sends out Oricorio, who uses Cheater Dance to confuse Gloobert, and the lovable lug hits himself right off the bat. He manages to break through the confusion after taking nothing from a Revelation Dance and hits a massive Thunderbolt. Gloobert snaps out of confusion like a legend and finishes off the cheerleader with a Weather Ball. Lastly is Flamigo, and the writing is on the wall. A close combat is more than enough to knock out my yellow blob, and I send out Ed and Nettie. A triple dive does massive damage, meaning that Brave Bird recoil ends up knocking out the Flamigo, meaning I beat Larry. Larry accepts his beatdown, and I finally get to battle the weird cringy art teacher that cries about everything. Hassel, the Dragon-type gym leader dude, leads Noivern against Kumiko. Now, I was just kinda hoping for a miss from Noivern and getting a sticky web up, but an air slash one-shots my bug compadre, and I guess nothing ventured, nothing gained. Gloobert comes out and is hit with a Super Fang before landing a huge Thunderbolt and getting the paralysis. Next turn, Noivern is paralyzed, meaning Gloobert's next Thunderbolt knocks the thing out. Dragalge is sent out and lands a big Sludge Bomb, which ends up poisoning my Rotund friend as well. But he responds with a mud shot, and thanks to the speed drop, the next mud shot hits first before fun friendship mechanics happen, meaning that Gloobert survives the next sludge bomb and expels the poison. But I end up failing my buddy here and misclick a weak weather ball, meaning he faints for nothing, and Ed and Eddie have to come out for the revenge KO with a dig. And with this matchup, I just need to end up sacking the boys here, so after landing a sucker punch for chip damage, they go down to a seed bomb. This means I'm finally in a position where Rexy can come out and start to sweep. I land an Icicle Crash, which easily one-shots the Flying Banana, and I terrestrialize Rexy, and she decimates Hassel's Haxorus with a boosted Dragon Claw, leaving his final Pokemon. The lame big, knockoff, less cool Rexy is outsped, and the superior dragon wins the battle, proving that Rexy is the queen of this battlefield. With the bodies of the Elite Four's lame, normal colored Pokemon behind me, it's time to take on the least interesting champion we've had in a while, Geeta. I lead Kumiko against her Espathra, and she ends up taking a Lumina Crash before doing big damage with a Leech Life. Unfortunately, a Dazzling Gleam knocks out Kumiko, so Ed and Eddie come out and sucker punch the Gaga Bird for revenge, and then Go-Goat comes out. I don't really like this matchup, so I switch into Rexy, who eats up a Horn Leech. Rexy almost one-shots the Go-Goat while it sets up a Bulk Up, but that doesn't really matter because the Dragon Claw knocks it out next turn. Then the threat that is King Gambit comes out, and I try to terrestrialize Rexy thinking it'll help her survive an Iron Head or something, but after doing good damage with a Brick Break, she goes down nonetheless. Ed and Eddie comes back out getting the revenge KO with a dig, and Geeta's next Pokemon is Avalugg, who comfortably takes a triple dive and lands an avalanche in response. We repeat last turn, but the gang's power of friendship lets them hold on after a body press. But one more triple dive is all my dudes can do before getting taken out by the next body press. Voltage comes out and finishes off the Iceberg video with a Psychic and is left standing against Geeta's Veluza. It hits Voltage with a Liquidation but ends up getting nuked with an Energy Ball, leaving Geeta's ace, Glomora. And thanks to the Rock Terra and Voltage dodging a Sludge Wave, Energy Ball does over half. The incoming Rock Terra Blast is enough to KO Voltage, so Gloobert is the last one standing. He gets hit with a crit Earth Power, but my own crit with a measly Mud Shot takes down the champion, earning us the title for ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to be honest, this video is pretty freaking long at this point, and I want to try to get at least 1 or 2 videos out before the Indigo Disc comes out on the 15th. I want to try and get as many of my shiny hunting targets from the Teal Mask in the base game that I didn't get before I shift my full focus to the new content. So just believe me when I say that Gloobert was the one to land the finishing blow on Arven, Clavel, and Penny, the absolute legend. And while I have all the badges, there's still one more thing I need to take care of. Getting revenge on Arven for stealing all of my Herba Mystica for his, childhood friend or whatever. And I have just the thing in mind. But before I can do that, I need to take care of some housekeeping, such as finally getting the 6th and final member of my team. And this is the spot where my rules kinda bit me in the rear. So of course, because I have taste, one of my favorite Gen 9 shiny Pokemon is none other than Iron Valiant. But I'm on Scarlet, and it's stuck to an in-game area, and it's in-game level scaling, so you haven't really been able to get one yet. But now I can, because all I have left is Area 0 and levels are right, so I rush to my Violet save file and load up a level 3 shiny Sandwich to find this girl. And yes, these robots are girls to me. Yes, there it is! Not even 10 minutes in. I name her Fujiwara to be a sister Pokemon to my other shiny Iron Valiant I use on my main save for shiny hunting, Chica. The pink lights on Iron Valiant always made me think of her pink hair. I've only really watched the first season of Love is War, and I really liked it, but I just never got around to watch the newer stuff. But I have very fond memories of playing the videos of the Chica dance on mute with my brother and just throwing on any random song we could think of, busting out laughing when the dance would sync up with All Star or Get Low. So, welcome to the team, Fujiwara. You'll only be here for the end, but we're glad to have you. And that's not how I thought that would go. Okay, boys, let's wrap this up, and we have our revenge to get. Now, you may be wondering what my master plan is to get revenge on Arven. And well, it's to flirt with his mom to his face. You know, maybe become his stepdad? That would be cool too. And well, after some fun friendship stuff, I finally confront Cave Woman Mommy. And I need to battle her to earn her respect. I mean, man, look at them eyes. I'm sorry, Arven, but I gotta do what I gotta do. Kumiko leads against Slitherwing and takes about half from a lunge, getting up her webs. She takes another lunge, and I need to prove myself to Sada, so I stood up the sun to make the battle even more difficult. Yep, that totally was the plan. It wasn't an oversight at all. A third lunge finishes off my starter, and Gloobert makes his appearance. He takes half from a lunge, but one-shots the awesome Moth with a Fire-type Weather Ball. Brute Bonnet just holds on after taking the same attack and retaliates with a payback. A slack off helps Gloobert regain some HP, but because the sun is gone, Weather Ball isn't enough to finish off Dino Amoonguss, so a second one is needed and Gloobert remains in the red. And nothing wants to switch into any move from Sandy Shocks, so Gloobert has to take one for the team and go down to an Earth Power. Ed, Ed, and Eddie does what they do best and gets the revenge KO with a triple dive. Again, nothing is coming into this Flutter Mane, so I see what my boys can do with a triple dive before they go down, barely missing out on the KO. Unfortunately, they are completely erased from this plane of existence with a Thunderbolt, and I send out Voltage, who ends up taking the very same attack and actually manages to survive it, knocking out this absolute beast with a Psychic. Screamtail comes out, and Voltage doesn't have any coverage to hit this thing, so I click Earthquake for nothing and see what a Psychic can do, and again nothing, and Voltage just goes down to a Drain Punch. I send out Rexy to do chip damage with the Icicle Crash, but she somehow survives a Play Rough, meaning the next Icicle Crash takes out the cooler Wigglytuff. Out comes Roaring Moon, and it ends up getting outsped and one-shot by my little Freezing Beast, meaning I beat Pokemon Scarlet using only my favorite shiny Pokemon. Well, Fujiwara, I guess nice work. But aside from beating Scarlet with my favorite shiny Pokemon, I finally proved myself to Arven's mom, meaning it's my chance to shoot my shot, and oh my god, that's not how I expected that to go. Well, but I guess it works. If you've made it this far into the video, then I'd like to take a second to thank you so much. I put a ton of work into this video, and any shred of support would mean the world to me. I'm still learning this whole YouTube thing, so any feedback would be welcome, and while you're there, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of stuff on the way, and see you next time.